welcome back to Ozark Garden Talk with White River Nursery. I'm Sarah.
I'm Charity.
And I'm Alex.
And we've been getting our fall questions. They've started, it's cooled down for just a little bit, and September is just when people start to get excited about fall. So we're hearing quite a few questions coming in, and we thought we'd just make an episode just to try to round those up and answer them all in one place.
Yeah, one of the questions that was pretty specific on a plant that came in was, what do you do to keep your asters from flopping? And I've actually had this conversation here at the nursery and over the phone a few times in the last couple of weeks. And it is known as the Chelsea chop in some parts of the world, but doing an prune on some of these larger growing perennials like asters, things that if left might be 5 or 6 foot tall.
Right.
If you cut them back, our timeline is the end of school. So in May, 1st of June, if you cut things by a third, a half, even if they're really tall things, they still have time to regrow, and they actually make them more stable, more stiff, and more bushy. So they'll make more branches to create more flowers.
Yeah.
So the asters definitely, because they're such a late blooming perennial, have time to do that. Another one we mentioned in a couple episodes ago is the ironweed.
Yeah.
It's a really, the large growing ironweed. You don't need to do that to iron butterfly, which is a very well behaved one. There's a lot of the tall growing yellow blooming now starting to bloom in the sunflower family plants that do well with that cut back. So basically, if you notice that the school buses aren't running anymore, get out there and chop all those things back, and it will help.
Yeah, this is a super common practice in the nursery business. If you ever wonder why the mums are so perfectly rounded and get so covered in color, same with the asters, I mean, that's what's going on. They tend to do a couple of cuts a year, usually latest in June or very early July, which is specific to mums.
Right.
But yeah, that summer cutback can really make things a lot denser. It's also worth noting sunlight is a huge one. I mean, if plants don't get enough sun, what they tend to do, they tend to not bloom as well, but then also the stem length in between the leaf nodes becomes elongated, and basically it's a longer, skinnier stem with less rigidity, less strength, so you're going to have a lot more flopping, and that goes for shrubs, flowers, everything.
Right. And I've noticed some people that if they don't want to do that chop, or if they're more of a low maintenance gardener, they will just kind of, or they forget. But a lot of low maintenance people will just plant things that kind of support those
Give them
longer
something to lean
growing
on.
things, some taller grasses or something like that, which I think is a pretty look too. Denser planting, less weeds to get in there.
That's
and they kind of support each other too. So.
Yep.
Another
And one
tactic.
other thing that can cause flopping in some of our natives is too good of a soil.
Yeah,
Right.
isn't
Too
that
much water.
ironic? Yeah.
Yeah, so that can be an issue too.
And over fertilization. I mean, too much nitrogen basically is going to have the same effect that I was just referring to with the shade. You're going to have increased internodal length, and it's going to cause them to flop over when it rains.
Yep. Nice. Well, kind of keeping with the questions, one of the other questions that we got was just kind of generic. What are some good beginner flowers for new gardeners? Some easy flowers, and they didn't specify perennials or annuals. So, what's a no-brainer?
Black-eyed Susan.
That's always one of your favorites.
The Goldstern Black-eyed Susan. They're bulletproof. They have a long bloom time. They're native. They are awesome. If you have enough sun for them, they're great. Charity, don't throw anything at me, but if you're just getting started, plant some annuals in the spring.
I agree completely.
After danger of frost, I mean, you get so much visual reward for that. You plant a flat of begonias, they're going to bloom from the time you plant them until frost. So
Right.
it just gives you that victory, you need to keep moving
Keep
forward.
going. Yeah.
I think another really good one, and it is maybe, I still would consider it definitely beginner friendly. It's just a timing thing, which is my hard part to it, is planting seeds of zinnias.
Yeah.
That's just when the soil is warm. Any time in May, really, you can direct seed it. or you could do it earlier in pots and let it grow. That's a little more steps to it,
Right.
but can be fun to see indoors, and you can watch it happen so that then you can move them out. But zinnias pop up. Full sun is necessary. That's
Right.
about it. A few waterings, and really after they get going, they don't require much water at all.
No.
Get tons of blooms, all different colors. The pollinators love them. You can collect the seeds and do it the next year. You can let the seeds fall, and they will reseed some.
Did you guys see the volunteer zinnia out back?
Yeah.
It is
Yeah, it's so
gorgeous.
pretty,
We
yeah.
did not plant it. We don't water it. It is growing in gravel, and it is stunning.
Yeah.
So
Super sweet.
Yeah.
Now, so rudbeckia and zinnias are later summer
Right.
blooming. Begonias can go in earlier.
Right.
You know, so you could get that spring going on. I think, honestly, in the annuals, the pansies, which is what's coming up next, they are easy. They do prefer full sun, and need a little watering, I find, because they do wilt a little bit, and just to get established, really. But again, easy. The only reason I can't grow pansies and violas is because I have chickens, so that
They're
low
tasty.
growing annual just gets scratched up.
Oh, yeah.
If the petals don't get eaten.
Yeah.
So, but they are really nice for that. And my other favorite annual that will fill in pretty much anywhere, sun, shade, is coleus. It's a foliar plant, so you're not working on the flowers, but there's so many colors and shapes
They're
of
bright
leaves.
still.
They can go, and they look great with the colors in the shade, and you can move them out to the sun. So many of them now. And by this time of year, they are so big that if you don't cut them a little bit and make them bushier, they're just taking over. So they're
Yeah.
cool.
It's a nice one.
Since you mentioned seed, I mean, also some of the seed grown veggies, lettuce.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, lettuce is one of the most rewarding vegetables to grow from seed because it's the easiest thing in the world. You sprinkle some seed out on some soil and they just come up.
Yeah.
They do like it cooler. It's hard to grow most varieties of lettuce in the heat of the summer. So it's kind of a spring fall thing, but lots of fun.
Yeah. And just some of the, back to perennials, the things that come to my mind, they're not natives, but salvia, catmint, if you have shade, hostas, they're so easy.
Yeah.
You can't hardly kill them. Hostas are snacks for the critters.
And hostas
but
do need a little more water.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're a person that likes to tend the garden, things that do want water are more fun for you.
Give you an
Right.
excuse to be out there, yeah.
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 So
And-
there are people that really need to water things.
And you just named two extremely deer-resistant plants and one
that's not.
will
Yeah.
bring them running from miles around.
Right.
So.
Hostas are a snack, but yeah, no, never any problem with my catmint or
Yeah.
or salvia.
Tough as nails.
So, for sure. And next question. Should I mulch in the fall? What materials are best?
Of course, you should mulch all the time. There should always
Always
be
the
mulch.
answer.
No bare soil. Yes. I mean, mulch has so many benefits. It helps keeps weeds down. It moderates soil temperatures, which is a real problem here. I mean, one of the things in the Ozarks in early winter, late winter, early spring, you know, we'll have these 70-degree days and things start to wake up, and part of that is because of the soil temp, and then it gets really cold again and zaps your stuff. Mulch really helps mitigate that. It slows those temperature swings. It also moderates soil moisture. It eventually breaks down into good organic material in the soil.
It's making soil.
Yeah, I get asked all the time, what kind of mulch should I use? And from my understanding, I mean, yes, pine bark, cedar, things like that are a little bit more acidic, but it is truly negligible. I mean, all mulches are somewhat acidic. You know, the wood, the tannins in the wood are going to acidify the soil a little bit, but the evergreen mulches versus hardwood, the difference is really not that big.
No. Once they
So-
break
And
down, once
it's
they're not
very
green
temporary.
anymore. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm thinking to moderate those soil temperatures and all those things, you need a pretty good thick layer of mulch, right?
Yeah, I mean, my go-to is basically 2 inches, 2 to 3 inches. When I was a kid, I worked for a farmer who said, whenever you think you have enough mulch, double it. And that was a specific thing on row crops. But anyway, one thing, you also don't want the mulch right up against the trunk
True.
or the stem of your plants. This can be a real problem, especially with trees and shrubs in the winter when it just stays wet.
Right.
You can really, it can rot and girdle that stem and cause problems
Well, and it
you don't
provides
need.
a protective passage for the insects. They don't have to see daylight. They
Yep.
can just stay under that mulch layer and
Borers.
tunnel into the stems. Squash as well as tree,
Yep.
so
Right.
all of that qualifies. The only other comment I would have, leaves work fine.
Yes.
Pine needles, if you can find them in this
Yeah.
part of the world. So my advice is always something organic, meaning it was made out of matter that can break down.
No rubber mulch?
Please don't buy rubber mulch. I don't know the solution to get rid of tires in our world. There's not one really, but grinding it up and putting it on the soil is not the
I agree.
solution.
Right.
It never leaves. It's just bad. Please don't do that.
Yeah. What are just people might ask? What are your thoughts on just using like rocks, like small gravel, as it doesn't give you that organic matter?
It's not. It's also not going to be as insulating as far
Right.
as temperature goes. And I will tell you that over time, eventually, as leaves fall on that gravel and break down and organic matter, basically soil develops in between those rocks. Weeds are going to grow right in
It's
that.
not gonna-
You're going to have grass coming up in there and various other seeds. I love what you said about the leaves. In a
Yeah.
the most environmentally conscious thing you could do is use leaves from your own yard, non-shredded. Believe it or not, there are tons of cocoons and larvae for fireflies and all kinds of
Silk
stuff in there.
moths.
Yeah, and so when we bag all that up and send it off, that's, so.
Yeah. Also on the rocks, it is a natural,
Material.
but people often think it's no maintenance. Like you're not going to have to replace it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you don't have to replace it. You also can't ever get rid of it unless you want to rake rocks or shovel them. It does not turn into soil. It does accumulate soil from various, things
Whatever
dropping
lays
in
on
it,
it.
and you will have to weed it.
Right.
It also does actually create temperature extremes because the heat collection of rocks is going to make your soil hotter in the summer.
For sure.
And it can keep the soil warmer in the winter. It's going to be a heat sink. So, advantage, disadvantage, I don't know on that, but it is not, it doesn't make more soil.
No.
That's
Right.
my biggest argument against it. It's
My biggest argument against it is 5-6 years down the road, yes, you're probably going to end up shoveling a lot of that up into a wheelbarrow and
and rinsing it, like, I
Yeah,
don't
what
even
he's-
know what the
I know.
maintenance on that, because I
I know.
have never done it. But and we don't. The other thing is like, if we're talking about native plants, if we're talking about our ecosystems, we aren't a desert. We do not have rocks as ground cover in this part of the world. You don't walk out and it's sand and rocks.
Right.
You walk out and it's leaf covered from leaf drop from trees. So that's our ecosystem. That's what's here. So just thinking about that, to me, it's a little harder to recommend.
Yeah. Ideally, something that breaks down.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. What bulbs should I plant for a beautiful spring show?
Well, there are a lot,
so many.
kind of the top favorites would probably be daffodils, tulips, alliums, some types of
Hyacinths.
Yeah, crocus.
I love hyacinths and crocus. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Importantly for a lot of people, daffodils and allium deer will not eat.
True.
Daffodils are poisonous. Allium are in the onion family, so they don't like them. Tulips, everything loves tulips. Deer, squirrels.
Except for some.
Yeah, there are deer-resistant tulips. You're right.
That
and
are perennials here,
and they
so
have-
they
that-
continue to come back.
That's right. They do have a slightly different look, and sometimes they're not quite as showy. And it's worth mentioning. Tulips here, mostly an annual. They, especially the really cool fancy varieties, what do they call them? The parrot tulips and all
the
that.
fringy edge.
Yeah,
some
I mean,
of the doubles.
there's some absolutely gorgeous tulips, but those are the ones that basically never do well the second year.
Yeah.
Some of the really old-fashioned ones, just like the plain pink, I think Pink Impression is relatively reliable, but I mean, anyway, tulips, they're beautiful.
Yeah, and we do have those. We do have all of those.
Right.
For our, I think the biggest thing about the spring show is to remember it starts in fall.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we do often get people come in the spring wanting daffodils, and you can purchase.
too late.
Well, you can purchase them
Blooming.
pre-potted in pots and ready to bloom or blooming, and some of those can even be planted out after
Sure.
you enjoy the show in a pot. But it's really now, and ours are due in October.
Right.
So, and that's appropriate planting time. And I think some of my favorites are hyacinth too, for the scent, the
They
fragrance.
smell so good.
But the little crocus, which are usually the very, very, very first that push through snow,
Yes.
those are just the
Yeah.
sweetest. And they're very small.
They are small.
But they add that spring is coming.
And at a house I lived in a few years ago, we just poked crocus everywhere in the lawn.
Yeah.
And
perfect.
it's so cool, in that late winter, you're really ready for spring. And when you see those come up and bloom,
Yep.
you're almost there.
Yeah.
You've almost made it. So, yes, I absolutely love crocus.
Yeah, I have a soft spot for daffodils just because walking in the woods in the Ozarks, you always see them just out in the middle of nowhere, and you're like, oh, this is an old homestead,
Yeah.
and it just makes you start to poke around a little bit more and see if you see any other little rock walls
And
or
that
anything.
that goes to show how tough they are. I mean,
Yeah.
you're right. They're out there, they're on their own, doing their thing, and they're still there 50 years later, 100
Yeah.
years later. It's
And it does, worth a mention, those old home sites along trails or whatever, whenever they're blooming and you look up, they're completely under tree canopies
Yep.
usually, with
That
maybe
is
a little
true.
opening, but it's because the leaf
Deciduous.
isn't on.
Yeah.
So, daffodils are full sun, but they can grow right underneath oak trees and things like that because they come out and wake up and do their show before a leaf comes out to shade them. So
And
Right.
I'm curious if you guys do this every single year, and I know better, but I see them start to come up in late winter, and I think it's too early.
Yeah.
It's too early. What are you
They
doing?
can do
And
it.
every single year they do that, and then
Yeah.
they look fantastic.
Yeah. And
so.
I mean, even whenever I've had a few petals open or even whole blooms open, they might get burned a little, but actually they usually just thaw back out and
Yep.
are just
Yeah.
right back
They
open.
have
Very
kinda-
tough.
Just a good point to mention is that fall is the great time to, if you do want to dig any up and divide, because they do kind of naturalize and you'll get a thick, it's how all those homesteads got there. They just dug them up and thinned them out and passed them along to their neighbors or shared them. And now, soon, this fall is the
Yeah.
time to do it.
Well,
So-
the other thing about that is if they do get too crowded, like many
Yep.
other plants
Yeah.
you should divide, they will bloom less.
That's right.
So if
True.
you're seeing them bloom less, that might be why. If you've got a real thick colony, they're all competing for the nutrients in that part of the soil.
And I've seen them just layer on top of one another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And it's easy to do. I mean, you just pop them out and pop the bulbs off.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
But mark where you put them. If you relocate them,
Always with
mark,
bulbs. Yeah.
mark
Yeah.
it so that you know what you've done. That's kind of important for any kind of perennials in fall because you'll forget what you've done. Because
Yeah.
they do die back to the ground.
That's
so.
why I have plastic tags all in my yard. I
Right.
do. I leave the tags with the plants
Yes.
at least until they get big.
Yeah.
I've tried the whole let me just bury this at the base, and I haven't figured out the technique that works for me. If you've got mulch, you can put it under the mulch, and hide it. But
I've heard White River Nursery has some very nice copper
Oh,
plant
we do?
markers.
Yeah, those are really classy
you know.
looking.
yeah, that sounds very organized. I don't know if I can do that.
She's just leaving that tag on there. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what other native trees and shrubs can I plant for migratory birds this fall? Was another question.
Yeah, well, so the migratory birds in the fall, they started in August, some of them, August and September, and so they're already doing it. Some
Yep.
of them are already on their journeys. In August, we have usually tons of insects. So they do feed on insects. Insects require their host plants. So there's a lot to choose from. As we move into winter and leaf drop and things start going dormant, is where the trees and shrubs become even more important, especially the ones that put on berries, because they move to seeds and berries as the insect population goes into dormancy or declines from the cold temperature. One of the greatest things that you can plant for birds, and then everybody in that food chain, is oaks.
Right.
Yep.
So, and I just want to put a little note in here. I have got on the way a dwarf chinkapin oak. So I'm really hoping they come in. These are native oak trees to our region that only get 10 to 12 feet. These are things that could go under power lines. So I'm trying to get that, because when we say oaks, you're just like, oh, this huge tree, I can't fit it in my front yard. So I'm hoping that we can get a better supply of that.
And not to be confused with the Ozark chinkapin,
No.
which are we bringing some of those in
Yes,
as well?
yes,
So
we'll have those this fall.
yeah, that people get confused on that one. Two very different trees, but both awesome native nut producing trees.
Yes.
So
If you have room for a bur oak, have you seen the bur oak acorns on our
it's massive
trees down there? We have little 5-gallon bur oaks right now, and the bur oaks, which has the largest oak leaf and the largest nut acorn, they're huge down there right now. I mean, they almost look ridiculous on these 5-gallon trees, but if you have room for a bur oak, do that, because it's amazing. But the other bearing plants that are shrubs would be viburnums, and we have a lot of those in, and arrowwood is specific ecotype, ecoregion. But nannyberry,
the deciduous hollies.
yes, the deciduous hollies are very good. Winterberry, which likes a little more water, and
Eastern red cedar too. I mean, the berries on those. So
and they're good hiding places while they traverse. So,
Right.
and then the other really important things is actually perennials.
Yeah.
yes.
Perennials and grass.
Yeah, for
Plant
the
grass.
seeds,
That's-
seed heads and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many of them. The echinacea, Joe Pye weed, goldenrod. Basically all those things that have those seed heads where the flowers are kind of fading right now. Leave those on there. I mean, it's a buffet, and
Yeah.
you will see the finches out there. Now, this is not a native, but as far as like total calories per plant for birds, sunflowers.
Yeah.
My God, I mean,
Right.
plant some sunflowers and you will see the finch. It's so cute. They hang out there upside down, and pull the little seeds out.
Yeah.
I love it.
The other upside down that just made me think of the elderberries.
Oh,
the
yeah.
big berry. What's that called? The umbel.
Yeah.
Right? The umbel of berries. Some of those elderberries kind of tip, and then the birds will hang off of them to eat. So yeah, berries, nuts, seeds, those things is what they're going to need for getting the energy to keep going.
Yeah,
So.
it's got a lot of energy content in those. Good point. We got several questions on what perennials to divide this time of year. So what perennials is the ideal? I know you can do some in spring, some in fall. What always comes to mind to me is peonies. Ideally, they don't like to be messed with in the spring because that's their early bloom time, but they want to be divided in the fall. Have you guys ever divided peonies before?
I have not actually.
Have you not?
I have dug them for moving
Yeah.
with a friend that was having to leave, move out of state. And so she wanted to take her collection with her.
Nice.
Don't ask me when that was done. Not the right time.
Not the fall.
But,
well, sometimes
yeah.
you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
one thing.
That's always my comment. Like, I mean, yes, there are best practice times to do all of it, but also if you're going to move and you need to get that plant, or construction's about to happen, that often is a question. I mean, save it, get it out of the way.
Yeah.
If you don't know what else to do with it, put it in a pot for a minute, then research it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
honestly, I think that's what happened to me with my peonies. I did divide them in the spring because and there's very, I mean, it's not ideal. Probably it takes longer for them to recover.
Exactly.
But they did recover. They're tough. I mean, but I didn't know they were there. We moved in the winter, and then I'm like, oh no, we're moving all on top of these. You see the little red stems starting to poke up, and I'm like, these have got to go because they're going to get smashed.
You're basically going to have 1 year, where they're a little more wimpy,
Right.
and then they'll come right back.
Yeah.
And I mean, even doing it in fall, you are still, even the most careful, meticulous person, you're going to damage the roots a little bit. You're also just disturbing the plant. So, I mean, that first year, it's not going to be as showy as the one after that. So,
yeah, it needs to work on its roots.
Well, and what when in the past, I mean, I've tried to like tease apart all of the little juicy tubers of the hosta or peonies, and that's tough.
It is.
It's really tough.
It is.
And I was reading, and people are just like, just chop them.
Yeah.
Just give a good enough chunk to where there's 3 or 4 stems or nodes, eyes to come up, and just use a sharp knife and just cut. They will recover.
We keep a large serrated bread knife in the prop house for these types of things.
Yes.
Well,
I mean,
and, our growers that we order starter plugs or bare roots from. I mean, we get like the peonies or Amsonia. Arkansas Blue Star is a gnarly bare root with a kind of a woody, I don't even know. It's crazy.
It is.
I mean, we get them, we unpack them from their little sawdust, and they're just cut in half. And there's like, I mean, it's got to be brutal in those places. There's a ton, they're sending out hundreds and hundreds of plants, and they just count eyes and chop,
That's right.
and send them out. And
yeah, and then we end up having to trim them even further to get them in a pot, So they always recover.
what else was on your list?
Don't be scared.
Dividing. Dividing.
It's fine time to divide just things like coneflowers and black-eyed Susans, daylilies. Are good to do. Hostas, you can do spring or fall, pretty much. Iris is kind of a late summer, ideally, early fall. Coreopsis, yarrow, any of those, it's a great time if you do have a big patch that has expanded and you want to move those around. It's a great time to do
So
that.
it helps you make more, but it also, like we were talking about with the daffodils, can increase your flowering
Yes,
because it's giving them more room to get what they need from the soil. So if you do see a decline for that whole list, plus of flowering, or even maybe decline in just the overall health of the plant. Sometimes that has to do with the overcrowding for many of these plants that do grow like that.
Right.
So it can really help.
Yeah, it can. It can make a big difference. But did you guys have, I think that was about, we kind of made it through our list of questions. Do you have anything that you've been hearing from customers that didn't make it on our official list?
Yeah, everybody is getting very excited about fall vegetables.
Yeah. Nice.
Broccoli, cabbage, kale, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. We have all that. All of those are in the brassica family, and all of those are much loved by a specific plant pest called a cabbage looper.
Yes.
Which is a little green caterpillar. It's a little white butterfly that comes in and lays eggs on these things, and then you get these little green caterpillars, and they start out so small you really can't see them until the damage becomes evident, and they're usually on the underside of the leaves. So we get asked a lot how to deal with that. And I mean, the good news is there's some very safe ways to deal with that. I mean, arguably, if you have a lot of time, the best thing to do is mechanical removal. Pick them off, put them in a cup full of soapy water or something like that. Most of us, unfortunately, do not have quite that much time.
And that's a lot of groundwork unless you have raised beds.
It is. And
Yeah.
again, when they're really small, I
Yeah.
mean, it's very difficult. So there is a product that is just commonly referred to as BT. It's a bioactive pesticide. Now, to be clear, BT is active against all caterpillars, so you want to be very careful. You don't want to get this anywhere near your milkweed, your other perennials. I personally feel that it is totally justifiable to spray on your brassicas, on the
food
things
plants.
that, yes, on your
Yeah.
food plants, but you want to be very careful not to get it on other things. We're not trying to kill the butterflies and,
Right.
all
Remember,
that.
if your plants have insect damage, then they're part of the ecosystem.
That's right.
That's actually what we're trying to do.
Unless it's my kale, and then I'm mad about
Right.
it. But,
because we have a different goal with that.
That's
so.
right. So, but BT is very effective. The caterpillar actually does have to consume it. So, you spray the plant, it takes a bite, they're done. They stop feeding pretty much immediately and die within a couple days. Another one is spinosad soap. I really like the soap formulation because brassicas, with that leaf, the water tends to kind of bead up and roll off.
Yeah.
But if you get the soap formulation, it spreads out evenly over the leaf. It's very effective. It does need to be reapplied after a rain or after an overhead watering,
Yeah.
but it's super effective. It's generally safe for kids, pets, all that good stuff. It occurs naturally in the environment. Just don't get it on your other stuff.
Right.
And another tip for against cabbage loofers
Ugh.
is to, when you plant, to cover with a row cover. Well, if you really are having a lot of pressure, or that, and basically after you plant them once, you will have pressure because they find them.
That's right.
So, if you can keep the row cover off the plant because you don't want them to have contact through the fabric, it's not that hard to get some old tomato cages and drape it over, close the ends with a couple of bricks or logs, and let them grow. At least they get to get ahead. You get more leaves than our starts, to
Right.
get going, and then you can use the spray if they find you and all that.
That does work. And on that farm I mentioned earlier, we used to do a lot of that kind of stuff. To be 100% honest with you, I hate the way it looks. I just hate it. So
but do you want the cabbage? So,
well, yeah,
broccoli.
I spray spinosad soap. Had a killer broccoli crop this spring.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
But it is definitely time to get those. And then lettuce could be direct sowed, or we
That's
have
right.
some. What else have we been getting in?
Okay.
You could replant herbs,
Right.
Yep.
and
Yeah, I've noticed after the heat of summer, my herbs are starting to recover and peak back out again.
Yeah.
There's
and
a lot
so
of that.
we're gonna get some seeds in. Should have those in very soon. So there are
Yes.
quite a few seeds you could direct plant too, like the root vegetables.
Turnips, radish,
Thank you.
rutabagas.
Yeah, radishes are really fast. That's a good one for beginning gardeners too.
It is.
They
It is a
germinate
fun one.
quickly, like lettuce, and
And when you pull them out, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
It's
you can eat the greens if you want to.
Yep.
So
All the fun fall stuff. I'm excited about our upcoming fall event. Our big one is used to be our craft fair. Now it's our native and creative community market
Yeah.
that Charity's
Love it.
been working so hard on.
yeah,
so.
it's gonna be. There's a few changes this year. Still all the wonderful vendors with their handmade artisanal goods with us, and all local. But we're adding some community, more community with us. We've got a few organizations coming in to table and talk about what they do, what services they provide, and just help educate us on better ways to do things. And then we're also going to have a band for a while on that Saturday, which is October 25th. And we will have a very, very large cast iron pot over an open fire cooking beans.
A cauldron, if
So
you will.
Staff are all extremely excited about this big pot of beans and cornbread for that day. So talk about fall. That's going to be
a full
fun.
day of stuff.
There's always tons of good food at this thing, and
Yeah,
the,
really
the
are.
beans.
Yes.
Yes, I'm excited.
Yeah. It'll be a lot of fun, and we're just adding that more that dynamic where you can visit with some of our community members too.
Yeah, I think it's a really exciting change, and just opening it up to even more fun stuff. It's been a success. I think we've had this going for how many years now? 6, 7?
7
I
with a
think
break in the middle.
Yeah, COVID
but-
kind of
Yeah, but yeah.
over
I think it's
otherwise.
the 7th year.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's awesome.
It's a lot of fun, but. Well, I think that's all I had to talk about today.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, thank you guys.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Happy fall! Almost.
Yay!